Who's ready for some good old down home cooking? Fantasy style. Hey Book Dragons, I'm so glad you're here with me today. I'm going to be sharing with you some of my favorite bookish recipes. Now, this list is by no means exhaustive, but I just selected a few of the many recipes that I've enjoyed reading about as I read fantasy books, and so we're going to get to it. Before we do, though, please make sure that you like, subscribe, join my Discord, all that good stuff. If you want to support me on Patreon, that would be awesome as well. Let's go ahead and get right to this list. Now, before I do so, I'm gonna put my little napkin here, and I've got my knife and my fork, and we're all ready to go. So I've got to get my eyes on too. There we go. Okay. Don't worry, I will not be featuring Ramsay Snow's pork sausage recipe on this list today. And so let's get right to the actual list. The first recipe on this list is from The Changeling by Victor LaValle. I recently read this book, and there's a really great sounding recipe in there for a crock pot chicken dish. So here we go. Patrice slipped a ladle from a drawer. Crock-pot chicken, he began. Chicken legs and breasts, half a jar of pitted olives, 3 teaspoons of olive brine, 1 lemon cut into slices, 1 teaspoon of herbes de Provence, a cup of chicken broth, half a teaspoon of salt, 1/8 of a teaspoon of pepper. And I'm sure there's more to it than that, but it just sounds amazing. I love chicken, and I love a really great savory chicken recipe. When I saw that recipe, I'm like, oh, I've got to highlight that and save it for later. A good reason to have a Kindle is I was able to easily highlight the recipe. And the next recipe on this list is from Legends and Lattes, and this is Thimble's chocolate croissants and cinnamon rolls. And I love a good dessert, guys. Cinnamon rolls, especially, are one of my weaknesses. I love chocolate croissants, too. Like, one of my favorite things when I go to Starbucks is their chocolate-filled croissants. Oh, they're so good. And so when I read Legends of Lattes, I was just absolutely starved for food after reading that book. There were so many delectable things that I read about in that book, but this was one of the best. And so I'm going to read you a quote from the book, like I did with The Changeling. Carefully unfolding the cloth, Viv revealed a roll as big as her fist, almost too large to imagine eating. Soft bread wound in a spiral, with dark sugar and cinnamon nestled between the rings, and a thick, creamy glaze frosted the top and dripped down the sides. Oh, I can almost taste it just reading that. And that whole book is full of things that you could easily taste just from reading the book. I mean, oh, it's so good. I've got a major sweet tooth, so I'm all about more recipes like that. So let's move on to the next one. This one comes from Blood of Elves by Andrzej Sapkowski. It's the third of the Witcher books. And this is beer and cheese soup. Now, I love beer and I love cheese. I would have to say that they probably go really well together. I don't think I've ever had a beer and cheese soup, but I wouldn't be opposed. So here's a quote from Blood of Elves. They had eaten beer potage, thick with croutons and cheese, and Ciri had been surprised they had not served mushrooms as well. Short quote, straight and to the point, but I think it really does a good job at giving you the atmosphere of what they were eating, and I'm hungry just thinking about it. I love a good soup with mushrooms and stuff, and adding beer into the mix is a good thing, I think. So yeah, I'm all about it. The next one comes from The Two Towers by J.R.R. Tolkien. And this is a conversation between Samwise Gamgee and Gollum. And this is Sam's fish and chips. And Sam says, "I'll cook you some taters one of these days, I will. Fried fish and chips served by S. Gamgee. You couldn't say no to that."
Yes, yes we could. Spoiling nice fish, scorching it. Give me fish now, and keep nasty chips.
"Oh, you're hopeless," said Sam. "Go to sleep." I love fish and chips, guys. That is one of my favorite ways to eat fish. Give me fish and chips with a good tartar sauce on the side, and the chips, of course. I'm just, you probably couldn't tell that I love food. I'm getting hungrier and hungrier. So here we go. Let's move on. The next one is from Clash of Kings by George R. R. Martin. This is the second book in A Song of Ice and Fire. And this is Old Bear Mormont's Hot Spiced Wine. And this is Jeor Mormont. He's the commander of the Night's Watch. And it says the old bear was particular about his hot spiced wine. So much cinnamon and so much nutmeg and so much honey. Not a drop more. Raisins and nuts and dried berries. But no lemons. That was the rankest sort of southern heresy, which was queer, since he always took lemon in his morning beer. The drink must be hot to warm men properly, the Lord Commander insisted. But the wine must never be allowed to come to a boil. John kept a careful eye on the kettle. Oh boy, guys. Spiced wine. That sounds so amazing. I wasn't quite sure about lemon in beer, but I'm all over this spiced wine recipe. I think that just sounds amazing. I'm going to have to try making it sometime because it sounds really good. All right, and the final quote on this list today is from A Game of Thrones, the first book in A Song of Ice and Fire, and this is Eddard's Roast Herb Ribs. "Be seated," Eddard Stark said. "I see you have started without me. I am pleased to know there are still some men of sense in this city." He signaled for the meal to resume. The servants began bringing out platters of ribs, roasted in a crust of garlic and herbs. I love ribs, guys. And crusted with garlic and herbs. Like, the only thing that needs to happen when you cook with garlic is to cook with more garlic. If the recipe calls for 3 cloves of garlic, you add 3 more. I mean, that's how it's done, guys. I mean, that's how I do it. See, proof that I'm not a vampire, because I eat a lot of garlic and I love it. So when I saw this recipe, I was like, oh, garlic and herb ribs. So good. So guys, I hope I made you hungry with this video. It was a short video, I know, but one that I've been wanting to make for a while. So I hope you've enjoyed it. And you may have noticed that I have a new hat today as well. I debuted this on my 1,000 subscriber live stream. This is my new hat to celebrate that milestone. And so I hope you like the hat, and I hope you've enjoyed watching the video. I really do. Let me know in the comments below what some of your favorite recipes from books are. Do you have any? Do you like the recipes that I've talked about today? Did I succeed in making you hungry? Let me know. I would absolutely love to hear from you. And guys, I think that's about it. Make sure that you are reading more books and eating more good food. We're all ready to go here. I'll talk to you soon.